So you've heard you need to train your core strength, but is this just doing sit-ups? And what exactly is your core? Well, today we're going to unpack core training and give you 3 great examples to put into your own training routine. So today we're joined by Jonny, and Jonny is someone that knows a thing or two about training core strength. Jonny has a long-term boulder project, which is 20 moves for a horizontal roof, kind of weighing in around V15. So obviously core strength and core tension is very important to your training process. So can you start by giving us a bit of an understanding about why core training is important for our climbing?
So the first point is that it's really important for keeping the tension between our feet and our hands when we're on the wall. Without a strong core, this is going to become a lot more difficult, and getting more weight on your feet reduces the load that you need on your hands, so you can effectively have stronger fingers without needing strong fingers. So the second point is that if you find that you're often cutting loose a lot, that could be due to having a weak core, and being able to keep the tension through your feet will help you get the most out of your hands. And the third point is that sometimes it's necessary for us to take a cut loose, as it's the easiest sequence in order to move our feet. Having a stronger core will help control that momentum and also help us get our feet back on after we've taken the cut. So for today's session, we're going to be going through 3 different methods of core training: floor core, suspension core, and bar core. In this floor core session, we'll be doing 3 exercises. The first exercise is leg tucks. You'll be lying on the ground, starting in a tucked position, and then extending your legs out fully without touching the ground. A key point is to maintain body tension throughout. A good way to monitor this is to make sure that your lower back isn't lifting off the ground. A way to check that you're doing this is to have your fingers in the small of your lower back and maintain pressure throughout. The next exercise is the Copenhagen plank. The Copenhagen plank is similar to the side plank, except you'll have one leg elevated on a box while the other leg is hovering. This will not only be training your obliques, but also the hip adductors in the elevated leg. So far we've trained the front of our core, the side of our core, but it's also important to focus on the back of our core and our posterior chain. So the final exercise is the back arch. In this exercise, you'll start lying on your front with your arms and legs extended out. You will be arching your back so that your feet and hands lift off the ground before returning.
This floor core session is a great example of something we might do through our base phase of training or our off-season training. Floor core is a great way to isolate certain muscle groups and train them in a very specific way. Generally, floor core is not something that's going to transfer immediately to your on-the-wall movement, so it's something we would take out of the plan around your peak or approaching a peak phase. As a base conditioning session, we're going to be working in a slightly higher rep range of 8 to 12 repetitions, working between 2 and 3 sets. Make sure to finish the set early if you feel your form start to deteriorate. For the knee tucks and the Copenhagen plank, you can increase the intensity of this exercise by adding weight. However, for something like the back arches, it's much easier to increase the time you hold that arch position for.
In the suspension core, we're going to be working both the posterior and anterior chain, so the front and back of our core. So for this session, you can either use rings or TRX setup. So in the first exercise, we'll be doing the pronai. For this exercise, you'll start in a standard position, roll out into an extended position, and then return to the beginning. Make sure to not arch your lower back whilst doing this exercise. In a similar fashion, the supinai, you'll start facing in the opposite direction and lifting the rings until you end up in the extended position. Try not to bend your arms too much and focus on contracting your mid-back at the top of the movement.
Suspension core training is a great way to activate the stabilizing muscles around the core and of course the shoulders as well. In this way, it's a great exercise for full body tension training. For both these exercises, you're going to be working in a rep range of 3 to 5 repetitions and 3 to 4 sets. You can increase the intensity of this exercise by increasing the length of the straps. Particularly for the prone I, stop this set early if you feel your lower back starting to arch.
For the bar core, the first exercise we're going to do is the hanging knee tucks. Try to bring your knees all the way to your chest and lower back down, and keep your shoulders engaged at all times. The next exercise is the hanging L-sit. This is an isometric hold where you'll have your legs extended parallel to the ground. One thing we often see that limits this exercise is hamstring flexibility. If you do find that you have tight hamstrings, you can either complete this exercise at a slightly lower angle or keep a bend in the knee. If you find that hamstring flexibility is the limiting factor to your L-sit, you will probably benefit from combining hamstring flexibility and L-sit training together. So for the last exercise, we have the lever tuck. Start by bringing your knees into a fully tucked position and then bring your feet towards the bar until your back is parallel with the ground. Make sure to lower back to the starting position in a slow and controlled manner.
For the knee tucks and the lever lift tucks, we're going to be working on a rep range of 5 to 10 repetitions, depending on your strength and ability. For the L-sit, we're going to be working on a hold of 5 to 15 seconds. If you need to increase the intensity of the knee tucks, you can straighten the legs and perform normal leg raises. If you need to increase the intensity of the lever tuck, you should go check out our video on ways to progress your lever lift. In this session, we're going to be working for 2 to 3 sets. However, stop the set early if you feel like you're losing that engagement in your shoulders. So today we've been through 3 different core training methods: floor core, suspension core, and bar core. Generally, you're going to be performing these type of exercises 1 to 2 times a week. During a base phase, we're probably looking more at doing things like floor core and suspension core to isolate different movements and train our muscles and our capacity to train. As we approach a peak, we're going to be looking more at doing things like bar core. Bar core is going to be really helpful for those climbing on steep terrain when you're cutting loose and getting your feet back on. Whereas things like suspension core is going to be really helpful for developing that tension between your hands and your feet. However, during a peak phase, we want to be developing our timing and coordination of our core tension and strength. This is best done on a climbing wall and in a climbing environment. Really good ways to do this is developing your tension on steep overhanging terrain, and of course board climbing is an excellent tool for this. This has been our core training fundamentals. If you enjoyed this session, make sure to like and subscribe. We have more fundamental series coming. We'll see you next time.